You're listening to Speakeasy from West Egg Ventures. I'm Amar.
And I'm Kaylee.
Jimmy Buffett was the total Renaissance man. I mean, not only was he a musician, not only was he an entrepreneur, he was a novelist. His books are, New York Times bestsellers. He created a Broadway show based off of his life. I mean, and now they've got a cruise line that's expanding, and hotels and everywhere you go in the world, it feels like there's a Margaritaville popping up. And it's just amazing how the brand continues to build even though he's gone.
So when I was a kid, where we would go for vacation like 3 or 4 times a year was the Keys. We would go for like lobster season and for whatever, and we would go down there like multiple times a year. And there's this little bar in Isla Morada called Lorelei's that's on the water, obviously, like everything else there. And there's all these, like, the most popular job in the Keys, I'm convinced, is Jimmy Buffett impersonators or like cover artists. And there was one time at Lorelei's where like the guy's like setting up, blah, 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 like, cool, he's gonna play music, and then they start playing and like everyone's heads just whip around, and it's just like Jimmy Buffett who showed up and was like, I'm gonna play some songs, and the cover artist is like, yes, go ahead. So love that. And then when he passed, my husband was like, I don't know who that is, and I was like, that's nuts to me.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't just invent a song, he invented a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think that is an incredible legacy
Yeah.
to have. And I think that's what we're gonna kind of dive into, is that, he didn't sell music. He kind of created a mindset.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, Kaylee, can you smell it?
Not through the screen, but I can imagine it.
This is my Mother of Ocean Margaritaville Resort Orlando air freshener, which I got when I was actually working at Margaritaville, running content for Margaritaville Resort Orlando a couple of years ago. So we're not going to nibble on any sponge cake, or we're not going to watch the sunbake, and we're definitely not going to watch tourists covered with oil.
Correct.
But we are going to discuss one of my favorite and one of the most iconic brands out there, Margaritaville.
Yes, I love it.
You told me a great story the other day about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and explain your voyage into the world of Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, I have a very soft spot in my heart for Jimmy Buffett. So the Florida Keys, I'm from Jacksonville, obviously, and the Florida Keys was my like go-to vacation spot when I was a kid. So we would go multiple times a year, like Easter, a couple of times in the summer, lobster season. And there's like just an abundance of Jimmy Buffett cover artists in the Keys. It's just one of the most popular jobs. And it's so lovely and like fun because the music is just perfect for like sitting at an island bar, like waterside bar, and just like having dinner. And so we go to this place called Lorelei's, fantastic little restaurant off the water. And there, every single night, there's pretty much a Jimmy Buffett cover artist. I mean, I would argue maybe like 5 out of 7 nights of the week, that's who's up there. And we're all just eating, getting ready for the band to start, and like we're excited to hear it. And there's a cover artist there setting up. He's kind of like a one-man show, got his little pedal and everything ready. And then all of a sudden, like, music starts playing, someone starts singing. It's 100% Jimmy Buffett, who just popped into the bar to do like a quick little set himself. It happens, well, obviously not anymore, but it did happen. I wouldn't say frequently, but I know others who have similar stories with him, just kind of, popping into like a restaurant, a bar, and like hearing a cover artist playing his songs and then getting up and like doing a few songs with them or by himself. So it was just a nice little kind of like surprise and delight moment. But I feel like since then, I've been a very big fan of Jimmy Buffett, like as a person, but also as a musician.
So I used to listen to Jimmy Buffett bootleg concerts in college when I used to download them from an old platform called Napster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I became a Parrot head in college, right? And love this music. There was a Margaritaville in Universal Studios that I remember going to when I was a kid. But it wasn't until years later when I actually started working at Margaritaville Resort Orlando, which is one of the nicest hotels that they have here in Central Florida, that I kind of got absorbed and hooked into this world of flip-flops and pop tops, and it was just, you know, this dude created the song, what, like 1977? It was a
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
And from there, it went from music to a mindset. And I don't know what it was, but it wasn't about the song or the place, but he created this like frame of escape and of joy and of simplicity that I think people resonated with. And now, you know, even though he's passed away, this juggernaut he created goes everywhere from like you know, from mixers, from margarita mixers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to residential condos to cruise lines. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because I think a lot of the case studies and brands we talk about are very digital based and social based. And I know you did a lot of content work with them, but I feel like the legacy really grew before all of that came into play with brands. And I think that's what's so special about it is it's far more about the experience you feel when you go to Margaritaville or hear the music or like drink the drinks or whatever that experience is that you're having in a place that is typically pretty happy, right? It's a lot of like vacation elements and like island living elements. And so I feel like it's so much more about the actual real life experience that's building that legacy for people. And those experiences are what make them then loyal to the brand, which I feel like today is usually the opposite, right? It's usually you see marketing, you're inundated with marketing on social and digital and TV, and then you go and you're like, okay, I guess I've seen that thing 7 times or however many times you need to see it to make a sale. But then you go and experience it. And I feel like Margaritaville and Jimmy Buffett specifically was so pre-digital, pre-social on the brand side for building that legacy and that experience. And so I'm interested to know from your perspective, like how you were able to convey that experience through content and like what elements of that kind of play the most with fans these days through digital.
You know, I think with everything that was going on in the world, Margaritaville, the lifestyle that Buffett created
Yeah.
is an escape, right?
Yeah.
It's an escape from the doldrums and the pace of this hectic American life that it's a very European sensibility in
Yeah.
so many ways, even though it's like on island time, because, you know, our life is just work, work, work. And I think, you know, his philosophy that he embodied, you know, as a musician, as a businessman, was all about aspiring to just chill out, right?
Yeah.
To lay down on a hammock, have a fruit drink with you. Someone is strumming a guitar somewhere out there, and you're just like, you know, listening to the seagulls. I mean, it's just that he did it, you know, in the world of capitalism,
Yeah.
right? Like he created products. He created food brands. I mean, you go to a supermarket, you're going to get some shrimp, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get some beer. You're going to he's got his own radio station. And oh my God, the merchandise is just incredible,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, I want to go and just hang out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he did, you know, through the music. And I think he created, so I think for me, to answer your question, was we wanted to create aspirational content that would get people to want to come to Margaritaville Resort and just kind of enjoy themselves to escape from all of it. And whether it was creating like a travel show or, you know, or creating like a series where it was just about the food, it was all about the lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
And what Buffett was trying to serve you up. And I think, you know, for us, you know, and I think for that, the brand, like content wasn't an afterthought. It was part of the culture, right?
Yeah.
Wherever you go, there's like, you know, there's his music playing, you know, there's a YouTube channel there. I mean, it was just like constantly using storytelling to sustain the community. You know, they had condos everywhere, right? So it's like, okay, come stay at one of these incredible condos and you'll have this awesome, like sort of margarita machine.
Yeah.
You know, that people can just like make these drinks and just enjoy that life. And I think that's what it was. It's a blend of sort of like nostalgia and escape. And, you know, that's what creates, you know, Parrot Heads, you know, whether it's, I don't know, a tailgate or a charity event, you know, or traveling the world. I mean, he has created retirement communities where people come and like ride their golf cart around and just chill. I mean, it's I've never seen anything like it.
I also think in the world, you mentioned all of this in capitalism, right? I think it's really hard to create something that feels so authentic to who you are. And I think that's something that he did really well in a lot of these products. Like we use the word flywheel a lot when talking about content, and how do you make things feel really cohesive around a brand or a message or a narrative, and how do you make all of those pieces kind of fit together? I think that is the perfect way to describe what Margaritaville is in terms of like products and marketing, is just a flywheel that works so seamlessly because it doesn't feel icky. And there are a lot of things in capitalism that feel like money grabs and feel very icky, right? They don't feel super aligned to like whoever's creating them, especially celebrity-backed products, people who got their start in artistry or creative work and then transitioned over to creating things. So I think it's really interesting to see something so seamless and so cohesive come together, but like have so many different arms of what it is and so many different areas where that vibe, you know, inundates like different parts of the experience of what Margaritaville is. But not only that, just like who Jimmy Buffett was and what that lifestyle is like.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Buffett was the total Renaissance man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we abuse that term in so many ways, but this dude personified it. I mean,
Yep.
Not only was he a musician, not only was he an entrepreneur, he was a novelist. I mean,
Yeah.
his books are, you know, New York Times bestsellers. They are, you know, they sell them in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he created a Broadway show
Yeah.
based off of his life. I mean, and now they've got a cruise line that's expanding.
Yeah.
And hotels and where you go in the world, it feels like there's a Margaritaville popping up. And it's just amazing how the brand continues to build even though he's gone. And what's awesome was all he did, I mean, he would get a little bit, every product you buy, he's getting a small nickel or dime
Of
from
course.
it.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful stories, I would say, of a royalty that you can get. And his name is just synonymous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing because I think what he's done is that he has taken something and he's authentic to who he was,
Yeah.
right? And no matter how much corporatization of his product that was out there, he basically, he was self-aware, I think, and aware that he kept who he was genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that vibe, it never changed. It was always fun. It was chill.
Mm-hmm.
It was very human. And I think he used, I don't know, leisure as maybe rebellion.
Yeah.
Because we're in this like hustle culture.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, y'all need to chill. I know how to live life.
Yeah.
And I think he gave us the permission to shut our phones off or chuck them into the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
disconnect, and laugh. And it was all about those small things in life that we take for granted. And it wasn't being lazy. It was actually, you know what? I'm going to practice self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, and investing time and energy into the right things, right? And I think so many people, because he had that persona of just being very chill, go with the flow, like let's not buy into hustle culture. I think so many people don't really think of him as like a businessman first, right? Like no one ever thinks Jimmy Buffett and immediately thinks of like this business empire legacy that he's built and left behind. I think it's the fact of like those things, even though they were part of him, and you said he was human and he has so many multifaceted interests and things, but they all tied back to just who he was, and they felt like he was doing them at his speed, which I think is such an interesting lesson for even brands, but I think specifically creators or anyone building a brand around people who are like face forward. Like the more they feel like they are not disconnected from the business side, but like the business side is going at their pace and working for them, not them conforming to what this hustle culture is, I think the better. And no one thinks about that first. No one thinks about his real estate portfolio first, right? Like they always think about like his vibe, his music, like those elements of who he was first. And I think that's because those things were always centered, even in the business as it grew, like who he was and that vibe was centered as first and foremost the priority of creating that experience for other people. So it's just an interesting lesson that I think can be taken away from it. But I think it's interesting to see now because growing up, I know where my fandom came from, and it was so direct. And so I am interested to know, and I don't know if you have any insight on this now, but like how people discover him in the 2020s, right? Like how are people like coming across Jimmy Buffett, engaging with Margaritaville? Because to me, it was like such a part of my life since I was a kid. But I'm interested to know like how people who didn't go to the Keys 3 times a year, like how are they finding Margaritaville as a brand, and then how are they creating that loyalty like long term?
It's a really great question. I think the way people are finding this song is the song first, right?
Yeah.
And I think this leads me to like sort of, some great takeaways that brands and creators can take with them was that when you feel an emotion, right? When you hear that song,
Yeah.
At a Bahama Breeze or some other restaurant, right? And it's playing, your mind goes, you're on a beach already in the Caribbean or on the Keys somewhere, right? And I think that for me was like he built an emotion before he built the product.
Yeah.
And so I think that allowed him, he made people feel.
Yeah.
And when you make people feel a certain way, they're going to be drawn to you, right? And I think what he did by doing that is he created a world, right?
Yeah.
Like, and a world is not just a community of condos or retirement communities. It's almost like your own like army of people that just want to chillax,
Yeah.
right? And so he didn't build a catalog. And I think he gave an audience a place to belong, right? Whether it was his concerts, whether it's, the hotels and the cruise lines that he built, and I think he created this sort of like mythical story through content. And when I was saying through the books, through the shows, through the concerts, all of those, like, it all fed an ecosystem where you just want to be in that world all the time. And there was never there was no silence, right? There's always new products being created. It could have been a sauce brand. It could have been hacky sack. I mean, whatever it is, like he had his name on it. And I think, but what he did also is that he allowed fans to co-own the culture, right, with him.
Yes.
Like you can be part of it. You aren't just like separated.
Yes.
And I think that's something that, like the great musicians like Taylor Swift does really well, was that they allow their fans to go on the journey with him.
Yeah.
And they become your best advocates. They become your best storytellers. And I think, co-owning the culture means buying a condo.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think like it's all community first, which we talk about a lot. But I think there are so many brands that you see that they try to push a product without understanding what that community is that they should be selling to. I think if you focus on who's your community, who are the people that, like you said, are going to go to battle for you, are going to like co-write your story with you, because, unfortunately, Jimmy Buffett's no longer with us, but that doesn't stop the story and the legacy from living on, because so many people are willing and invested in like continuing that lifestyle and culture, and it's still there, right? Like the presence of him is still there. And I think that all comes from just building a community that is so rock solid that like when you do then scale your business, they're way more likely to buy into this because they know that it's built community first with them in mind, exactly what they're looking for, and the brand feels like it's catering to them versus the other way around. So I really admire that part of it, but I think it's something that we always talk about, and it's sometimes I think hard to understand unless you see it in practice, and this is just the perfect example of it.
I love this brand so much because it's not afraid of joy, right? And I think that's the power of it. You don't take yourself so seriously. Like I have had this air freshener for a few years now, and I always love to just, to put it out there because it reminds me of the smell at the hotel, and it brings me back to that, to that lobby where, you got that giant flip flop where you can take a photo or you can grab a margarita. Like you are honestly like on vacation. Like I just want to go there right now. That's how much I think the smell of the place, the remembrance of the place. And I think that's what's so amazing was that the brand literally trains you to smile, relax, and connect.
Yes. Love it. We could all use more of that.
What's your favorite Jimmy Buffett song?
Cheeseburger in Paradise, probably, because that's just the most... I mean, that one probably played more than any other one. But I also, like, when I think about that one, I think about a very specific day on vacation. And so it just, like, reminds me of good memories.
Yeah, I'm gonna deep cut here.
Yeah.
There's a song called "Diamond as Big as the
Yeah.
Ritz," which is based off of an F. Scott Fitzgerald short story, which I love.
Wow.
So I have a very soft corner for Jimmy Buffett because not only was he this amazing Renaissance man, he was a hell of a writer. And if anyone can reference that book or that story, I'm always going to be a fan of. So yeah, I even have a sign, Jimmy Buffett sign in my in my office. So yeah, a lot of great takeaways on this one.
For sure.